The screen's on, right? Maybe check at some point if we have sound, right? Just make sure. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Balava Girivaradhari Vijana Balava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Jana Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Jana Munakira Vanachari Munakira Vanachari Jaya Madha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Jana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 7. We'll chant verse number 4, but there's a few verses without purports, so the purport's in number 8, so we'll go from 4 to 8. And the chapter is called, anyone remember? Huh?
Lord Shiva drinks poison.
Oh, Shiva saves the universe by drinking poison. Yes. Okay. Iti tushning stitan daityan vilokya purushottamaha smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha iti tushning stitang daityan vilokya purushottamaha Smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha iti tushning stitang daityan vilokya purushottamaha Smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha iti tushning stitang daityan vilokya purushottamaha Smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha iti tushning stitang daityan vilokya purushottamaha Smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha iti tushning stitang daityan vilokya purushottamaha smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha iti tushning stitang daityan vilokya purushottamaha smayamano vishvijyagram Puchang jagraha samaraha. Word for word. Iti, thus, tushnim, silently, stitan, staying, daityan, the demons, vilokya, seeing, purusha uttama, the personality of Godhead. Smaya manaha, smiling. Vishrija, giving up. Agram, the front portion of the snake. Pucham, the rear portion. Jagraha, grasped. Sa amaraha, with the demigods. Thus the demons remain silent. Remember yesterday the demigods, or the Lord took the head, and the demigods joined, and the demons didn't like that. So now, thus the demons remained silent, opposing the desire of the demigods. Seeing the demons and understanding their motive, the personality of God had smiled. Without discussion, he immediately accepted their proposal by grasping the tail of the snake, and the demigods followed him. Yesterday the demons were suggesting we should do it differently. So, repeat after me. Thus the demons remained silent, opposing the desire of the demigods. Seeing the demons and understanding their motive, the personality of God had smiled. Without discussion, he immediately accepted their proposal by grasping the tail of the snake, and the demigods followed him. Just to read the verse before so it's in perspective. The last verse we read yesterday, the leaders of the demons thought it unwise to hold the tail, the inauspicious portion of the snake. Instead, they wanted to hold the front, which had been taken by the personality of Godhead and the demigods, because that portion was auspicious and glorious. Thus the demons, on the plea that they were all highly advanced students of Vedic knowledge and were all famous for their birth and activities, protested that they wanted to hold the front of the snake. That means the demigods wanted to hold the front of the snake. So they protested, and then today, thus the demons remained silent, opposed to the desire of the demigods. Seeing the demons and demigods and their motive, the personality of God had smiled. Without discussion, he immediately accepted their proposal by grasping the tail of the snake, and the demigods followed him. But Krishna has a plan. Krishna has a plan. Okay? I'll just read the translations of the next couple of verses, as we're starting kind of late. O son of the Pandu dynasty, when Mandara mountain was thus being used as a churning rod in the ocean of milk, it had no support, and therefore, although held by the strong hands of the demigods and demons, it sank into the water. Of course. Because the mountain had been sunk by the strength of providence, the demigods and demons were disappointed, and their faces seemed to shrivel. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimited powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. So the demigods and demons were trying to put this mountain there for churning, but of course you put a mountain on water or milk or something, it's just going to sink. So now the Lord's appearing as a Kurma incarnation, and he's going to lift up and hold that mountain in place so they can use it as a churning rod. Purport. Here is evidence that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller of everything. As we have previously described, there are two classes of men, the demons and the demigods, but neither of them are supremely powerful, because everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. The demons regard these hindrances as mere accidents or chance, but the devotees accept them as the acts of the Supreme Ruler. When faced by hindrances, therefore, devotees pray to the Lord. Tate Dukkam Susamikshimano Bhujana Evatmakritang Vipakam. Devotees endure hindrances, accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and regarding them as benedictions. Demons, however, being unable to understand the Supreme Controller, regard such hindrances as accidental. Here, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present personally. It was by His will that there were hindrances, and by His will that those hindrances were removed. The Lord appeared as a tortoise to support the great mountain. Chitir iha vipalatare tava tishtanti prishte. The Lord held the great mountain on His back. Keshavadrita kurma sharira jaya jagadisha hari. Dangers can be created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be removed by Him. This is known to the devotees, but the demons cannot understand it. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganachana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So here we have this very interesting situation that the demigods and demons have come together to turn this Mandara mountain in this ocean, turn the ocean of milk with the Mandara mountain. It sinks because mountains don't normally float on water, and everyone is very disappointed because how are they going to turn the ocean to milk and get the nectar out of it, which is everyone's goal. So the Lord allowed it to sink. Of course, He didn't have to allow it to sink, because when Lord Ramachandra wanted to cross the ocean to go to Ravana's place, then He made the stones and everything float, and they just walked across. So the Lord can do these things. He can make something that it can't float, He can make it float. But here He intentionally let it sink, which would be naturally what would happen to a mountain if you put it on a liquid, and everyone's disappointed. And then in front of everyone, He manifested it as Kurma. The Kurma is the tortoise incarnation. The Lord comes in many different incarnations. Kurma is one of the prominent ones. There's actually unlimited incarnations, but we're not told about every single one. It says that the incarnations are coming constantly, just like the waves of the ocean. So waves of the ocean never stop. Even on a calm day, there's some waves. So the incarnations of the Lord are constantly coming, but not all of them are manifested. Not all of them do we see. So here's one, an important one, Kurma, and he appears here, and he lifts up this mountain out of the water, and he will remain there, and they'll use his back, his shell. Tortoises have shells, as a support for this turning rod. I think later on it says that he actually had an itch on his back, and he was also scratching his back. So many things were accomplished by this. So, but Srila Prabhupada is explaining in this purport the different attitudes of the devotees from the demons, devotees, demigods, and then the demons. devotees believe in God. Demons don't believe in God. So when the devotees, because the devotees believe in God, they understand that if some difficulty comes, then it's happening by the will, at least by the allowance of the Lord, and actually the Lord doesn't directly get involved in everyone, the individual karma and everything of everyone. That goes on pretty much automatically. But for one who's dedicated their life to devotional service, he makes all kinds of arrangements, and sometimes those arrangements are difficulties, and sometimes those arrangements are, something very pleasing. So, and the Srila Prabhupada quotes a portion of this verse. I recognize this verse. It's from the 10th Canto. I've mentioned it a few times. Lord Brahma spoke it after realizing that he made a big mistake in stealing the cows and the cowherd boys from Krishna, and then he realized what he did. So he offered many nice prayers, and the verse Tate nukampam tu samikshamano punjana evatma kritang vipakam. Yadvukti padesa dayavak. Translation?
Those who accept whatever trouble, whatever suffering they are going through in life, instead of complaining, they accept because what they deserve due to their previous sinful activity. And at the same time, simultaneously, they go on worshiping the Supreme Lord. Not complaining, just accepting this is what I accepted, what I have to before. They are candidates for the ultimate liberation because they claim it doesn't rightfully claim.
Yeah. Dayabak. Yes. Yes. So that's the attitude that we should have. We're practicing Krishna consciousness. We're giving our life to devotional service. Sometimes there are difficulties. Sometimes there are big difficulties, and so on. So we understand that when the difficulties come, these difficulties are coming. It's not karma exactly, if you're fully engaged in devotional service. That there are difficulties that the Lord has personally, He's personally taken the trouble, so to speak, of giving us some particular situations in life, so to help us to advance on the spiritual path. And the mood of the devotee is, or the mood of the devotee should be, that I'm getting this, like Krishna's arrangement, the good or the bad, and I'm getting it to help me to purify or change, improve and change the mentality that got me entangled in this material world in the first place. I think that's mentioned in the purport. The idea is that we tolerate the difficulties. We appreciate the good things that happen, because not everything is bad, and we understand that all these are arrangements that are being personally made by Lord Krishna to help us to advance and to change our mentality that got us entangled in the whole material world in the first place. That's Shishi Gaurnitai, Shishi Radha Vijay Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra Ki. And the principle is that if we can go on doing our, basically means chanting our rounds, following the principles, stay in the association of devotees, keep serving throughout our lives. Whatever part of our life we started the path of Krishna consciousness, we can continue we accept the difficulties that we go through as Krishna's blessings, and we understand that by staying on the path until the end, then we become the Sanskrit word is dayabhak, means we become the rightful heirs of the spiritual world. And it's explained that it's just like in a regular, what's it called? You get it? Inheritance. Yes, inheritance. So if your father's got some money, some property, or something like that, as an example, and the son, just by being the son, of course, it could be written off the will too. But for the example, we're saying he's set to receive the property of the father when the father leaves his body. Okay, and he's the right. That son is the rightful heir of the father, or the father's property. And as long as that, his only qualification is that he remains alive. If he dies before the father, then nothing happens. So he remains alive. So same thing for us. We have our rightful heir. It's our rightful claim to be allowed to go back to the spiritual world, to join in our eternal pastimes and relationship with Lord Krishna. It's ours. It's waiting for us. And the only thing that we have to do is stay on the path, keep that attitude that's described in that verse, and to continue like that until the end of our lives. And Srila Prabhupada, long before I ever saw that verse, Srila Prabhupada used to say that a lot. Many times he would write letters to the devotees, or say something in his lectures, and you stay on the path. Mostly his letters. Stay on the path, chant your rounds, your 16 rounds or more, follow the regulative principles, keep engaged in helping to spread Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement. You're doing these things, and you do that to the end of your life, then you will go back home, back to Godhead. You're going to say like that. So that's the principle, that we don't give up the path of devotional service. We take it up, have the right attitude, or develop the right attitude, and continue it until the end. That's the path. And in Bhagavad Gita, because there's a question, well, what happens if someone they're on the path, but they give it up early? So Arjuna asked that question to Lord Krishna. What happens to the yogi who gives up the path of yoga before the end of his life, before he reaches perfection? And Lord Krishna said there are two possibilities. One possibility, if he stopped before achieving perfection, one possibility is that he was not particularly advanced. He was on the path, but he was not particularly really advanced. Then he may either take birth in the family in a aristocratic or wealthy family or something like that. So he has certain material facility from the beginning of his life. He doesn't have to struggle for existence, struggle to stay alive, and he will hopefully take up the path again of spiritual life. He didn't have to spend all his time and energy just trying to find something to eat and find shelter and like that. That's one possibility. Another possibility is that he could be elevated to the heavenly planets, because he probably gave it up because of some kind of sense desires. So he may be elevated to the heavenly planets, where he can enjoy a high level of sense gratification for a long time, and ultimately become frustrated with it because that's the nature of material enjoyment. And then when he eventually falls down from that position, when his good karma is used up, then hopefully he'll be in a better position, a better consciousness, where he can go on and continue on that path. And then for the yogi who is very advanced but doesn't complete, he stops early, but he is much more advanced, that he may take birth in a nice Brahmana family, or may take birth in a family, Brahmana or Brahmana Vaishnava family, and be able to practice yoga, practice Krishna consciousness in our case, from the beginning of his life. So that's for one who doesn't finish, but although it's without a doubt, anyone who's taking up Krishna consciousness in this lifetime is practicing Krishna consciousness. We have started sometime previously, maybe for many lifetimes we've practiced. We don't know, but if we're here now and we've understood, we're initiated, or we plan to be initiated, we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're following the principles, we understand what the goal of life is, and we have the philosophy, we're hearing hearing this philosophy every day. If we're doing this, then there's no reason that in this lifetime that we can't complete this path. We don't have to be one of the yogis that drops out. Of course, many do take up the path of Krishna consciousness and drop out, and in the future will no doubt take it up again. But there's no reason that if we're at this point where we're here, we're practicing, we're attracted to hearing about Krishna, hearing the philosophy like that, or hearing about Krishna's pastimes. If we're at this point, then all we have to do is stay on the path. Stay on the path, keep chanting, keep following the principles, keep enthusiastically engaged in devotional service. And if we do that until the end of our lives, and there's really nothing better to do, right? If we continue that to the end of our lives, then we gain the right, the privilege, but the word is right, we become the rightful heir of the spiritual world. So this is our position. And of course, those who are of demoniac nature have their own philosophies to try to explain why things happen the way they happen. There's a particularly I think nonsensical philosophy that's out there a lot of people are influenced by it, and they call it, what's it called? Determination. It's a deterministic philosophy, or something it's called. It means that it's the idea. It's an atheistic idea. The idea is that the universe, or some higher power, or something beyond us, everything's pre-programmed, and everything that happens to me is already going to happen, and everything and anything I do, even if I go out and I kill somebody, that's already being forced to do it by some universe like that. But that does, if you accept that kind of philosophy, what it does is it takes away any responsibility. A person will think, well, I just killed someone, but I was just forced to do it. There's some higher power that's making me do this. So it's actually an atheistic philosophy, and they are not giving credit to God. They're not accepting God, but they're saying by some higher controls something. They don't want to talk about God. They don't want to give credit, but they say, hey, I'm not responsible for anything I'm doing because it's already pre-programmed into me, like that. So it's as they say, a cop-out in modern terms. But that's an atheistic approach. But we are not following the atheistic path, we're following Krishna's path, and we understand that everything that's happening in our life is personally being arranged for us. If we're practicing Krishna consciousness, it's personally being arranged for us to help us to advance on the spiritual path. Our karma pretty much gets eaten up or washed away or whatever you say by following the process. And at the time of the first initiation, Srila Prabhupada says the karma is all passed on. So there's no real karma. But the difficulties that we face, even after initiation, we may think how, I just got initiated, but I got initiated, but boy, I got a bad headache today. So how is it possible? I got a bad headache because of some bad karma? No, it's not karma. Krishna may give you a bad headache for some reason, and as he sees, that it's necessary for you to go through that to help you to advance. We don't always understand why good things or bad things happen the way they do. But we should understand that if we're practicing Krishna consciousness, he is making those arrangements personally for us, individually. There's no mass programming or something like that. He's making these arrangements for us individually to help each one of us personally to experience what we have to experience in life so that we can advance on the spiritual path. It's 8:26. Any questions, comments?
Here I was thinking that when you said devotees believe in God, what is the difference between believing and accepting God? Because as usually said, people say, no, I believe in God, but I do not follow God's command.
Yeah.
So one thing is, and just comentar. Here in this verse we see that the demigod, they actually not only believe, but accept God. For accepting and believing. So they wanted the head. No, and that's what we want. Saints and Georgians, we want the head of the snake, the best portion for us.
Yeah.
But since Krishna went to take the head, Krishna moved back to the end of the snake to grab the tail. Immediately the demigods follow. So that means not being attached to what I want and accept what God wants for you. To be able for us to be able to read what God wants for us rather than become attached to what I want. That comes with the spiritual realization that you have to learn to read the signs that God is sending to our life by path to follow. So here we see that everybody wanted the head of the snake. Oh, I want the head of the snake, it's the best part. And that's what we want from this life. Sometimes things go wrong, as we were saying. Sometimes things go wrong, and we have to take it as God is spoken. This is spoken to keep us moving. Not going to stay there. Keep moving. You know, when you have the force, you move, you start moving, the person can spoken, the moving must keep moving. So sometimes, because we are attached to the head of the snake,
Yes.
it's supposed, come on, keep moving. We say, that's part of my karma. No, the karma is not. This is spoken. Krishna knows how to talk to you, so we keep you moving. Don't stay on the head of the snake.
Yeah.
Because I went to the thing of the snake is follow. Just don't accept that I exist or believe what I want to do.
Yeah, it's a good point. And of course, the Lord had a plan, because he knew, as we were reading earlier, the plan was whatever if he or the demigods wanted the head, the demons were going to say, oh, they want that, we got to object to that.
That was about the head, the snake, and to throw fire.
Yeah. So
one head of the snake and the angry emperor.
right. We'll hear about that shortly.
All of God's design for your life. Follow his design for your life. You're gonna die because he may backfire.
Yeah. So the Lord did that just so the demigods would object and say, okay, so we'll take the tail. And the demigods were sorry that they took the head. but they
What we want, what he wants, that what God wants for you. My plans for my life are better than God's plans. So God went to the end of the smart person, Surah. He goes to the end. I go over this. Surah's no. Okay, good. That's no. It's just like this story, history of Arjuna and Duryodhana. They both went to Krishna to get Krishna's army for himself. And the Bible couldn't help. So Krishna was resting on his bed, and Duryodhana came first, and he sat next to Krishna, next to him, looked at his shoulder, close to his face. And Arjuna stood by Krishna's feet. Krishna was lying on the bed, sleeping. So when Krishna walks out, he said, well, those of them want something. He said, well, I have to please first the one that I saw first. Duryodhana said, no, I got here first. You have to please me first. I have the right to ask first for what I want, because he came here first. Krishna said, yes, but I saw Arjuna first, because he was standing by my feet, and as I was opening my eyes, I saw the person standing in my feet first. Then I looked up and I saw you. So Arjuna, what do you want? And I said, no, I want you to be with me in the body. And Duryodhana was very happy. He said, no, I want your army. I want your army. Powerful warrior.
Right.
And Krishna said, Arjuna, you're so cool. You got my army. Why did they ask for my army? And Arjuna said, no, I just want to be with you. Whatever you want, that's what I want.
That's right. Arjuna wanted Krishna. He was the most intelligent. Anyone else?
If you guide me in the body, you become my charioteer, and you become my guide. And in the body, I know that everything will be okay. So they have a profound moral teaching. If we let Krishna to be the charioteer of our life, then everything will be okay.
That's right. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll end here now, and today is Thursday, so tomorrow we meet Srila Prabhupada Nectar. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.